Good afternoon. We are Kijani, the Affordable Greenhouse team in Penn State's Humanitarian Engineering and Social Entrepreneurship program. Today we are going to share with you how we will improve food security in Africa by expanding our impact. My name is Ariana DeRoos. I'm majoring in Community, Environment, and Development with an international track. My main focus of study is food security. Last summer, I traveled with HESI to Kenya and Rwanda, where I worked on the Affordable Greenhouse team.
Hi, my name is Curtis Eckerd. I'm a supply chain major in the Smeo College of Business. I have experience with SIFE. For 2 years I did development work with them, and also I was on 2 study tours in Rwanda, Africa.
And I'm Abraham DeHart. I'm majoring in agricultural systems management and minoring in international agriculture. And I have 10 years of business experience in the Philadelphia area doing landscaping, and a lot of experience in marketing and advertising as well.
Food security is a growing problem in the world today. The global population is expected to reach 9 billion by the year 2050. Climate change, urbanization, and desertification are all currently contributing to a decrease in productive croplands. To meet the rising demand of food, global crop production must increase by 50% by the year 2050. In East Africa, 60% of the population is malnourished, and 200 million people in sub-Saharan Africa are considered food insecure. This is Amani. She is a small-scale farmer in Kenya. She farms less than 5 hectares of land and is one of the 20% of Kenyans who earns less than $1.25 a day. Because of harsh weather conditions during long rainy seasons and long dry seasons, she's only able to grow crops productively from the months of October through December. All of these problems cause her food insecurity, seasonal unemployment, and result in poverty.
So what are farmers like Amani doing to try and increase their crop yields? Well, they're using chemicals and drip irrigation to increase their crop yields, and they're also trying to use pesticides and makeshift greenhouses to protect their crops. And while these solutions can work somewhat in the short term, they're unsustainable and very expensive in the long term.
So while those techniques help, they don't quite cut it. So we came in and we were innovative in our approach. What we thought is, why don't we build a greenhouse with local supplies, locally sourced materials that are cheap and makes the greenhouse cost efficient and puts it in the price point for our audiences. Also, we're continuing to cut costs through further research into rice bags. We're looking into substituting the rice bags for the glazing on the greenhouse now, as the glazing is the most expensive material that goes into the greenhouse. Also, this design is expandable, and so as a farmer is profiting from the greenhouse, then they can quickly be making that greenhouse larger.
So what is our value proposition for the farmer in East Africa? Well, our greenhouse increased the farmer's yields by about 20%. It protects the crops, and it reduces the growing season by 1/3, as well as the water consumption by 1/3. It allows farmers throughout most of Kenya to grow year-round, and our kit costs about 1/4 that of our closest competitors. And the farmer can pay the kit back within the first growing season. So we used an example of tomatoes, which is a very common cash crop in Kenya. And we calculated that after the first growing season, the greenhouse will pay for itself. And then by the time you get to the end of the first year, you'll have created 3 times more revenue using the greenhouse than growing in an open field.
So how do we plan to do this? Well, first of all, we have our agro-entrepreneurs. That's the first audience that we're going to target. The reason for that is these agro-entrepreneurs are less risk-averse, and they're willing to invest their capital into technologies that they see will create a return for them. So as we get our greenhouses in the hands of these agro-entrepreneurs, they will prove to the subsistence farmers, which is our second target audience, that these technologies are a viable option to be creating profits and to be raising their standard of living.
Companies such as Amaran and Green Tech Irrigation are dominating the greenhouse market in East Africa. However, their greenhouses are too large and too expensive for the average small-scale farmer. For example, the Amaran Farmer's Kit costs around $2,000 and is nearly twice the size of our greenhouse design. This is why our greenhouses can be so competitive in the market, because it's smaller and more affordable.
So our expansion strategy. How do we disseminate these greenhouses into Africa? Well, there's a three-tier process, and the first one is finding a partner. We have to find some entrepreneurs in Africa that have the qualifications and are willing to take on the risk of starting a greenhouse manufacturing company. So first of all, Mavuno was the first company that had started to do this, and that was in Kenya, Africa. And the managers of Mavuno are two Penn State alums, actually. So once we found these partners and chose that they were a good fit, we went on to license the technology to them. So after we did that, then they started their operations, and currently we're in the third step, which is consulting and assisting them through their startup phases.
So our marketing strategy is to expand our Mavuno model to West Africa. We're currently in talks with a company called Jola Ventures that's interested in mass manufacturing our greenhouses in West Africa the same way as Mavuno. And then to help Mavuno expand their company in East Africa, we have a strategy to build 10 greenhouses strategically across the region. These greenhouses we chose to build in specific locations, such as at the mayor's house in Nyeri, Kenya, where we work, at Wambugu Farms, an agricultural research institution funded by the Kenyan government, and then in Tanzania as well at a community center where we have partners.
So how are we going to use your funds from the Ag Springboard? Well, each of our greenhouses costs about $500. $350 for the materials, about $100 for the seeds and fertilizer, and then $50 for the drip irrigation system. So with $5,000, we could produce 10 greenhouses, which we could place strategically throughout Kenya. And how would that increase our business? Well, by the end of 2014, we expect to have about 90 greenhouses being produced per month and sold. If we had the extra input of those 10 greenhouses, which would be placed throughout Kenya, we would have potential yields, production of over 120 greenhouses per month. And then for our total production, as we expand to West Africa and implement the rice bags, we expect to have anywhere from 250 to about 350 greenhouses being produced per month by the beginning of 2015.
So with such a compelling proposition, it wasn't too difficult for us to win over the confidence of these few organizations. So first of all, we have the NCAA. They've given us a grant to be furthering our research in general. We have the EPA, and they've given us a research grant to be furthering our rice bag testing. And also Chase Bank has partnered with Mavuno, the greenhouse manufacturing company in Kenya. And what they do with Mavuno is they offer Mavuno's customers affordable loans at affordable interest rates, as that's very uncommon in the developing economies.